Recording from the depths of his closet where the ghosts of fashion trends past try to strangle him with last season's scarves and cravats, it's your host, Donovan.
Hey folks, welcome back to Deep Dives in the Shallow End, where we unravel the threads of modern absurdities one stitch at a time. Today, we're diving into the world of fast fashion, a realm where your wardrobe changes faster than a politician's promise, and the only thing more disposable than your clothes is your dignity. So buckle up, or should I say button up, because it's about to get as tangled as a bargain rack at Ross after Black Friday.
In the shallow end. Deep dives in the shallow end.
Alright, let's start with the basics. What exactly is fast fashion? Well, imagine a place where you can buy a new outfit for less than the cost of a small cup of 7-Eleven dark roast, with about as much taste, wear it once, and then watch it disintegrate faster than my New Year's resolution to brush my teeth every day whether they need it or not. It's like the fashion industry's version of a one-night stand. Cheap, exciting, and leaving you with a sense of regret and a mysterious rash. Fast fashion promised to democratize style, making it accessible to everyone. But like most things that sound too good to be true, it came with a catch. A catch so big it hangs over us like a mountain of discarded clothes destined for a landfill in Southeast Asia, unraveling thread by thread while it leaches into the groundwater. Why have 4 seasons when you can have 52 micro-seasons? It's like the fashion equivalent of binging on extra toasty Cheez-Its, except instead of the world's most delicious snack cracker, you're consuming clothes. And instead of fulfilling your salty, cheesy cravings, you're guaranteeing the job security of Bangladeshi children. But let's talk numbers, shall we? Clothing production has doubled in the past 15 years, and the average consumer now buys 60% more clothing items than they did in 2000. But here's the kicker. We keep each garment for only half as long, treating them as if they were as disposable as wedding vows, fleeting and forgotten before the ink is dry on that marriage certificate. We buy, wear, and discard, repeating the cycle endlessly while the pile of waste grows higher and higher. And the environmental impact? Oh, that's a doozy. The fashion industry now accounts for 10% of global carbon emissions, more than international aviation and maritime shipping combined. That's right, your closet is more of a threat to the planet than a fleet of jumbo jets. Our penchant for paisley-patterned pants has pushed the planet over a perilous precipice of pervasive pollution. Water usage is another critical concern. Producing a single cotton shirt requires approximately 2,700 liters of water. That's enough to meet one person's drinking needs for 2.5 years. So the next time you toss a shirt with a coffee stain, remember you've basically decimated a lake worse than the mouth breathers at Havasu on spring break. But wait, there's more. Beyond the environmental catastrophe, fast fashion has a human cost that's as ugly as a pair of Crocs with socks, but far less comfortable. And good luck trying to talk me out of them. The industry employs approximately 75 million people worldwide, predominantly young women in developing nations, often under conditions that make a Dickensian workhouse look like a day spa. In Bangladesh, garment workers earn approximately $96 a month, a wage that economists calculate at roughly 1/3 of what's necessary for basic survival in urban areas. It's like trying to live in Brooklyn without supplementing your protein intake with subway rats. The 2013 collapse of the Rana Plaza factory in Bangladesh, which killed more than 1,100 workers, was a wake-up call for Western consumers. But like most wake-up calls, we hit snooze and went back to dreaming about keeping up with the Joneses because, while that $4 shirt you bought from Temu is going to dump a few gallons of dye into a Chinese river, it's really going to turn some heads at the front desk of that chiropractor's office. A 2023 report found that 93% of major fashion brands cannot guarantee living wages in their supply lines, while 77% lack any system to track workplace abuses. The fast fashion industry is playing a game of ethical limbo, wondering just how low can they go. Now, let's talk about the psychological mechanisms that keep us hooked on fast fashion. The industry has masterfully exploited our fundamental human desires for novelty and social acceptance, creating what psychologists term a hedonic treadmill of consumption. It's like we're all hamsters in a wheel, except instead of pellets, we're chasing to emulate the garb du jour of some Jenner or Kardashian, because apparently having more money than sense makes you a style icon. Social media has amplified these effects exponentially. Recent studies indicate that 68% of young consumers report feeling pressure to wear new outfits on social media, while the phenomenon of outfit repeating has become stigmatized. It's like we're all cattle in some grotesque Black Mirror meat market where the bidders are faceless strangers scrolling past our lives. But really, their validation is as ephemeral as the next swipe, leaving no imprint on them but briefly filling the void inside us, like a shallow breath that keeps us going but never satisfies. Sounds like my grandma's COPD. And that may sound harsh, but she always said her figure came first, even if it meant my mom was born weighing less than a Thanksgiving turkey. The economic structure of fast fashion further complicates reform efforts. Developing nations have become dependent on garment manufacturing for economic growth, while Western retailers rely on low-cost production to maintain profit margins. It's like a toxic relationship where both parties know they should break up, but neither can afford to move out. So I guess it's livable hatred. And here I thought I could go one episode without airing my marital grievances. But fear not, dear listeners, for there is hope on the horizon. The rise of circular fashion models presents one promising avenue for reform. Companies like Patagonia have demonstrated that profitable fashion businesses can operate on principles of durability and repair rather than planned obsolescence. It harkens back to a time when keeping your clothes was an act of necessity and responsibility, not just another hashtag challenge where sustainability is the accessory of the month. The secondhand market, projected to reach $64 billion by 2025, offers another alternative to the current system. While thrift stores and secondhand shopping have been around for decades, what's different now is the scale and cultural shift. Secondhand fashion is no longer just for those on a tight budget. It's becoming a lifestyle choice for people aiming to reduce their environmental footprint. It's like a pirate treasure hunt, except instead of some murderer's ill-gotten gold, you're searching for a gently used pair of Z Cavaricis. That said, there's a flip side. The growing popularity of thrift shopping has made it trendier, which has driven up prices, sometimes pushing it out of reach for people who actually depend on such stores for affordable clothing, which can make the affordability of the very fast fashion that we need to combat more attractive. But technological innovation offers some hope for systemic change. Advances in recycling technology now allow for the separation of blended fabrics, while blockchain tracking enables unprecedented supply chain transparency. The next step is actually getting the industry to use it. Like me with that Nordic track I bought about 30 years ago, I say I'm going to use it, but really it's now just a permanent living room monument to slothfulness, which isn't even the deadly sin I'm best at. Looking at you, gluttony. Now, the role of government regulation cannot be overlooked in addressing this crisis. The European Union has taken the lead with its Circular Economy Action Plan, which includes specific provisions for textile waste and chemical use in clothing production. It's like the EU has realized that hands-off parenting only leads to whiny toddlers who never learn to clean up their mess. Except these toddlers are billion-dollar fashion conglomerates, but they still make shitty pants. Consumer education represents another crucial component of any solution. Research indicates a significant gap between environmental awareness and purchasing behavior. While 72% of consumers express concern about fashion's environmental impact, less than 30% regularly make purchasing decisions based on sustainability criteria. It's like the French in smoking. They see the images of the blackened lung on the package, but can't resist those fantastic formaldehyde-filled fumes. We know better, but sometimes we don't care enough to act on it. The complexity of reforming fast fashion becomes particularly evident when examining the global supply chain. What appears to consumers as a simple transaction, purchasing an $8 t-shirt, actually represents the endpoint of a vast network of frightful farming, malfeasant manufacturing, shoddy shipping, and reckless retail operations spanning multiple continents. Think a Rube Goldberg machine, but instead of a ball bearing, it's a pair of cotton culottes. Yet, despite these challenges, recent developments suggest that change is possible. The rise of conscious consumerism, while still representing a minority of purchases, has begun to influence major brands' behavior. Companies that once denied responsibility for conditions in their supply chains now compete to demonstrate environmental and social responsibility. The concept of slow fashion has emerged as a direct challenge to the fast fashion model. This approach emphasizes quality over quantity, durability over disposability, and timeless style over trend chasing. It's like the tortoise and the hare, but instead of a fight to the death, they're strutting their stuff on the runway. I'm just realizing I might not be remembering that fable totally correctly. Technology's role in enabling change extends beyond manufacturing innovations. Digital platforms have enabled the growth of secondhand markets, with companies like ThredUp and Depop making pre-owned fashion more accessible and socially acceptable, like Grindr usage at highway truck stops. However, technological solutions alone cannot address the fundamental issue, the culture of overconsumption that fast fashion both reflects and reinforces. This cultural dimension requires addressing deeper questions about identity, status, and the role of material goods in social relationships. Changing our mindset can be difficult, but it can be done. We squeaked through the 70s with their hideous fashion, disco, and looming threats of nuclear warfare. This should be a cakewalk, even if we're still dodging those same nukes today. In any case, education must play a crucial role in any long-lasting solution. This education needs to extend beyond simple awareness of environmental impacts to include practical skills like garment care and repair, understanding of quality indicators in clothing, and awareness of the true cost of fast fashion in both human and environmental terms. While I know the thought of learning to sew a button is like our generation's version of the landing at Omaha Beach, terrifying and seemingly impossible, just think of the hero you'll be when you subdue the machine gun nest that is the buttonhole stitch. They'll throw parades in your honor. Or at minimum, you won't feel defeated by a very basic life skill. The path forward requires a multifaceted approach combining regulatory reform, technological innovation, consumer education, and cultural change. Regulatory measures might include extended producer responsibility laws requiring companies to manage their product's entire life cycle, including disposal. We would no longer have to be like the unsuspecting passersby in medieval Europe when it was time to empty the old chamber pot out the window for everyone to walk through. Unless you're into that sort of thing, no kink shaming here. I'm into some freaky business too. In any case, perhaps companies can kindly dispose of their mess in a more responsible and less disgusting manner. The role of media and advertising in perpetuating unsustainable consumption patterns cannot be ignored. The average person encounters thousands of fashion advertisements daily, many specifically designed to create feelings of inadequacy that can only be resolved through purchasing. Hence, my drawer full of Spanx and control tops that seem to be falling a tad short of their promised miracles. Apparently, they don't work on those of us whose physiques can best be described as a bit more farm to table. The financial sector also plays a crucial role in maintaining the current system. Fast fashion companies' high profit margins and rapid growth have made them attractive to investors, creating pressure to maintain or accelerate production despite environmental and social costs, like a polyester Ponzi scheme, but with the bonus of human rights violations. Local initiatives offer promising models for change. Community clothing swaps, repair cafes, and skill-sharing workshops have emerged in cities worldwide, creating alternatives to the dominant consumption model. They're like slightly more sanitary potlucks. No need to wonder about how much cat hair or fingernail debris you're ingesting, because they're just jeans. But then again, who am I to tell you how to enjoy your clothes, you weirdos? COVID brought out some new insights into possible alternatives to the current system. As supply chains were disrupted and retail stores closed, many consumers were forced to reconsider their relationship with clothing. Survey data indicates that 65% of consumers became more aware of fashion's environmental impact during this period, while 70% reported making fewer impulse purchases. It was like a global timeout. Except instead of sitting in the corner, we binged on Uber Eats enchiladas, watched Tiger King, and let our fancy fast fashion $40 ensembles gather dust while we rekindled our love affair with salsa-stained sweatpants.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Looking forward, the fashion industry stands at a crossroads. One path leads to intensified environmental degradation, continued worker exploitation, and ultimately very likely system collapse. The other requires fundamental transformation of how clothing is produced, consumed, and valued. It's a choose-your-own-adventure book where we decide if we want to be the heroes who save the mistreated workers and environment, or just throw our hands up in defeat, but still look and fly with an $8 bedazzled watch on that wrist, even if it doesn't last the week. The fast fashion paradox represents more than just an environmental or social crisis. It embodies the broader challenges of creating sustainable economic systems in a finite world. The apparent democratization of fashion through low prices and rapid production has created consequences that threaten both human and planetary well-being. However, the emerging alternatives, from technological innovations to community-based initiatives, demonstrate that different models are possible.
Deep dives in the shallow end.
The solution will require unprecedented cooperation between stakeholders at all levels. Manufacturers must embrace sustainable production methods, retailers must prioritize quality over quantity, governments must implement and enforce meaningful regulations, and consumers must fundamentally rethink their relationship with clothing. More importantly, we must challenge the cultural narratives that equate constant consumption with success and self-worth. Because nothing screams success like tissue-thin garments that dissolve in a thin mist, or accessories that glimmer like the sun but turn your skin green. It's like luxury on a timer that's counting down to personal disappointment and ecosystem destruction. The transformation of the fashion industry offers lessons for addressing other sustainability challenges. It demonstrates both the complexity of changing established systems and the possibility of creating alternatives. As we move forward, the goal must not just be to mitigate the worst impacts of fast fashion, but to create a new model that truly serves both people and planet. The technology, knowledge, and resources to create this transformation exist. What remains is the collective will to make it happen, like ridding ourselves of the Kardashian dynasty. But you know what? One problem at a time. I will leave you to decide which is more dire, but for me, it's neck and neck. And that's the show, folks. Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dives in the Shallow End. Remember, while you're navigating the treacherous waters of fast fashion, don't forget to rethink how we approach our closets. Who knows? Maybe we can slow down our purchases just enough to actually value the clothes we already have, instead of mindlessly chasing the next trendy bargain destined for a landfill. And while many of us find it hard to resist the allure of convenience and cheap trends, we can start making small changes now, like mending a tear, sewing a zipper, and saying no to Kylie Cosmetics. Let's make our voices heard and stand up to the oppressive systems that have made the Kardashian-Jenner family famous. I might be mixing my messages here, so it's clearly time to wrap up. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to me. Take care of yourselves and others, but far more importantly than all that, click the like and subscribe button and tune in to next Tuesday's episode.
Deep dives in the shallow end.